Is there really a GOAT debate? When it comes to anything competitive, especially something that has been around for a while, fans of whatever that thing is typically want to debate about who is the greatest to ever compete in that thing. Whether it's sports like football or soccer, racing leagues like F1 or whatever else, musicians or anything gaming related, most people have their pick for the greatest of all time at whatever that is. Is this really something we're even able to debate about, though? What does it even mean to be the GOAT? When it comes to the NBA, the GOAT debate is arguably the most had conversation surrounding the game across all groups of fans. Whether you want to admit it or not, almost everyone has their pick for who they think is the greatest. A large group of people think that Michael Jordan is the greatest to ever touch an NBA court. A lot of others say it's LeBron James. We even have a few less picked, but still picked, legends in the conversation, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Hakeem Olajuwon, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. Whoever you think is the best, you still have a pick. But why do you pick that person? What is the criteria for this award? Is there even a criteria? I believe there are 5 legitimate, objective factors that go into picking an official GOAT. The first one? Rings. Being able to win on the biggest stage at the highest level is arguably one of, if not the most important factor in being considered great. The second is basic stats. Although rings are incredibly important, it's a team sport. A championship isn't won with just one person or by one person, so a factor like basic career stats help distinguish the best to win it all from the least important to win it all, who was the best on the team and who didn't deserve any minutes in the finals. Are you putting up the most points on your team? Are you contributing and getting assists or playmaking? Are you getting rebounds, defending, contributing to the win? Basic stats, although not foolproof, help us determine how good a player can be. The third is longevity and consistency. Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell had some of the greatest playoff performances of all time, some of the best we've ever seen. But they're inconsistent. They don't do it all the time, excluding Spida's 71-point game. Linsanity was short-lived. Derrick Rose was unfortunately knocked off his pedestal with injuries. These players have reached the highest of the highs when it comes to NBA moments, but they didn't last long, for whatever reason. They didn't have the consistency in the case of Mitchell or Murray, or the longevity in the case of Jeremy Lin and Derrick Rose, and others who have dealt with injuries or just haven't been consistent. Most players like this aren't bad basketball players by any means, but they're also not in the GOAT conversation because they lack these very important factors. Next, we have awards. When it comes to the greatest of the greats, they've all earned their awards over their time. MVP awards, like players with Kareem, Bill Russell, MJ, LeBron, Wilt, or scoring titles to MJ, Wilt, Kevin Durant, Allen Iverson. Even defensive player awards to Ben Wallace, Dikembe Mutombo, Hakeem Olajuwon. These awards have value. They decide, in most cases, who was the best in that category that year. And in cases where MJ has 10 scoring titles and multiple MVPs, they help us decide who is at the top of the top. And last but not least, we have something that's not talked about very often. It's the ability to be independent. This factor represents someone who can win and be great and compete at the highest level without having to rely on other great players. Like I mentioned before, rings are won by teams and not players, but some players never had the amount of help needed to win the amount of rings that they probably could have. We saw Dirk have one of the most amazing playoffs ever, winning his franchise a ring while being the best player on that team, and he did it seemingly alone, at least in terms of star power. But even disregarding championships, players like Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul are all players who can perform at their highest while being the best player on their team by a large margin. LeBron had Kyrie Irving, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Anthony Davis, MJ had Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Kareem had Magic Johnson, Steph had KD, and KD had Steph. But Chris Paul led an extremely overachieving Thunder team to the playoffs. Dirk led his team to the finals and championship. Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley battled their way through multiple playoffs on their own. But we've even seen players like LeBron and MJ do great on their own. When they weren't winning or didn't have amazing teams, they were still great because they had that ability to be independent. This factor is extremely important. With all 5 of these factors in mind, who is the real greatest of all time? Let's score them based on the first 4 factors, and I'll try to be objective as possible for the last one. For scoring, I will do the top 5 in a category and give first place 5 points and 5th place 1 point, and then everything in between. I'm going to be focusing specifically on the players that are listed by many to be already in the GOAT conversations, because players like Sam Jones, Tom Heinsohn, Casey Jones, and Satch Sanders are 2nd and 3rd for rings. Those players won't be getting any points in this. The top 5 greatest level players for rings are Bill Russell, Kareem, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Tim Duncan. Bill Russell, obviously with the most, gets 5 points. Kareem and MJ both get 4. Kobe, Magic, and Tim Duncan all get 3 points. The top 5 GOAT level players for basic stats are LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, and Tim Duncan. I used each player's positions in the all-time stat leaders categories to figure this out. LeBron is 1st in points and 4th in assists, 3rd in minutes played, and 2nd in field goals made. MJ is 5th in points and 4th in steals. Kareem is 2nd in points, 3rd in blocks, 3rd in rebounds, 1st in minutes played, and 1st in field goals made. Wilt is 1st in rebounds and 7th in points, and Tim Duncan is 6th in rebounds and 5th in blocks. Because of this, Kareem gets 5 points. LeBron gets 4, Wilt gets 3, MJ gets 2, and Tim Duncan gets 1 point. For longevity and consistency, I will use the number of years played while maintaining at least 50% of their stats from their best year. This gives enough leeway for the stat drops expected from later years or earlier years in a player's career. Michael Jordan played all 15 seasons of his career with at least 50% of his stats or more. LeBron James, all 20 years so far. Kareem, 18 years. Wilt, 13 years. Tim Duncan, 17 years. Kobe Bryant, 17 years. Bill Russell, all of his 13 years. Hakeem Olajuwon, 14 years. Shaquille O'Neal, 17 years. Kevin Durant, all 17 years so far. Larry Bird, 13 years of his career. With the total amount of years in mind, for this category, LeBron gets 5 points, Kareem gets 4 points, Kevin Durant gets 3 points, and Tim Duncan, Kobe, and Shaq all get 1 point. Next up is Career Awards. This category is simply how many official NBA awards, including scoring titles, All-NBA, and all defensive teams a player has. The top 10 in this category are Michael Jordan at 52, Bill Russell at 29, Kareem at 43, Wilt at 28, LeBron at 38, Kobe at 41, Shaq at 31, Magic at 23, Tim Duncan at 42, and Kevin Durant at 21. MJ gets 5 points, Kareem gets 4 points, Tim Duncan gets 3 points, Kobe gets 2 points, and LeBron gets 1 point. For the ability to be independent category, Dirk Nowitzki is the only all-time great that I know of to win without another all-star on his team. Dirk gets 5 points. MJ gets 4 points because he only ever played with 1 all-star. Tim Duncan played with 3 all-stars in his ring years and gets 3 points. With all of the scoring from these 5 categories added up, our NBA GOAT is... Wait. No, that's not right, because there is no objective greatest of all time. These 5 categories aren't the only things to consider. Their competitors matter. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't playing in a league with this many 3-point shots or scores this efficient, or the defenders from the 90s. The Showtime Lakers were stacked, and there was no defense for Kareem's Skyhook. The NBA rules aren't even the same. There's a 3-point line, New foul rules, a limit on technicals, even the shot clock has changed. Players are more injury prone now because they're great players coming out of middle school and have already played hundreds of games. Michael Jordan didn't play for like 3 years, he can't be the GOAT. LeBron had too much help, the pace was too slow, so obviously Bill Russell is gonna thrive. The reality is, there is no true GOAT. It doesn't matter if you pick Michael Jordan or LeBron James, or even Kobe Bryant. Each player has their strengths, each player has their weakness. Everyone played at different times against different opponents. Allen Iverson never won a ring, but does that mean he wasn't great? Absolutely not. LeBron forced an amazing 3-1 comeback against the greatest team of all time, but Bill Russell still has the most rings. Look, you can have your opinion, but the fact is, it's just that, an opinion. Your GOAT pick isn't the right answer, it's just an excuse to discredit other all-time greats over some bias. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe even tell me who your pick for the greatest of all time is. See you next time.